This is Heather Cray from World Class Academy, and we are going to go over the answers to this Mixed Challenge 1. If you haven't done it yet, make sure you download this worksheet, which you can get for free from the link in the description, and try these 5 questions on your own. All the questions come from the reading and writing section of the digital SAT. So let's jump in and go through the answers. So question 1 is what they call a sentence completion, and you need to know your vocabulary for these questions. In this question, after years of being dismissed, so something negative happened, Stephen King was finally, now we've got to something positive, right? And the positive thing that happens after a negative is called vindicated. That's like cleared from blame, or maybe proven right. So if you didn't know the definition of vindicated, now you've got a new word to add to your personal lexicon. Let's move on to the next one. This is one of my favorite poems, The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. And the important part here is the speaker describes regretting, and we're looking for a word in one of the answers that really connects well with that word regret. And sorry is the one that I see. Furthermore, we also have a missed opportunity, and not being able to travel both is an example of that, right? Robert here is walking in the woods and he has 2 choices, but he can only walk down one of them. So whichever one he picks, it means he has to forget about the other one. That's his missed opportunity. So that makes here A, the correct answer. All right, question 3. This is an example of a paired paired passages, right? And the question, so actually I have it in bold here. Based on the text, how would text 2 respond to text 1? So we're going to go and read those texts first. Don't bother with the answers until you've read. When we read text 1, we're noticing that this lady here, she likes the idea of sales tax. So sales tax is good. And text 2 is an example of what I call the yes, but reply. Yes, but. He does agree that sales tax um, provides steady revenue. There's your yes. But they disproportionately harm lower income families. And the word for something like that is regressive, right? So he agrees in part, but he said, well, they do have some pros, there's also cons. And this yes, but concept is, although I agree with the pro, the cons are outweighing that pro. It's a little bit more complex than just fully disagreeing with someone. Of course, the SAT does like to be more complex. So the answer to this question here is going to be B. That text 2 guy says, well, sales tax, yes, it has a benefit, but it also has a regressive impact, right? So we got the yes and the but in our answer here. All right, moving forward, here we have our grammar, which we've been practicing a lot in this class. It's just one of the questions on the test, though. Be careful. This is a very long sentence. The South African oceanographer, Leo Vanderberg, all the way to ecosystem, that is all one sentence. Do not stop reading too soon or you will fall for the trap, right? So Leo Vanderberg maps. The subject is Leo, right? The verb is maps. So dedicated is not going to be the main verb. We don't want it fighting with maps for that position of main verb. Furthermore, we see that there is a comma between the subject and the verb. I'm not allowed to have just one comma. Between the subject and the verb, there has to be 2 that work together and sort of cancel each other out. So I need the comma as in C and D. Let's get rid of A and B because they're missing a comma. And I do not want it to say is dedicated. That's a verb. And I already have a verb, maps. Dedicated right here is the past participle. It's being used as a verbal. Oh, in other words, it's an adjective that describes Vanderberg, but it doesn't have to be the main verb. That's what we're looking here. That's what we're looking for. And just to double check, Leo Vanderberg maps coral reefs. What I'm double checking is I can skip from one comment to the next, erase all the words in between, and I still have a smooth sentence. And indeed I do. So those commas are in the right place, and C is the correct answer. All right, the last question here is in the topic of transition words, and what we have to do is read the first sentence, read the second sentence, and then pick the word that describes the relationship between them. So in the first sentence, we have a remarkable achievement. That's a positive. And that achievement was something about the Cold War space race. And then we sparked renewed interest, also a positive, so definitely not a contrast here. Let's get rid of however. But is it the same thing? No, a Cold War and new interest, right? Those are two different things, but they're both positive. Is it one more general, leading to something that's more specific? No, I don't think so. I think if anything, the Cold War is a little bit more specific than renewed interest, right? So it's not going to be our example. And in other words, it has to be quite literally like a restatement, but we are talking about a second idea, a second positive idea. That's going to be D. This is additionally. All right, I hope you learned something from these 5 questions, and I'll see you in the next video. Keep